Today we're going to talk about whether to buy or bail on cannabis stocks. Now, Sha'Carri Richardson is out of the Tokyo Olympics after testing positive for cannabis and receiving a 1-month suspension. Now, a lot of people have decried the decision, from Patrick Mahomes to Darius Butler, Stan Van Gundy, Seth Rogen, Tyler Lockett, and a whole bunch of others. Unfortunately, Richardson is likely one of the last victims of this kind of outdated policy, in my opinion, because I bet by the next Olympics, cannabis won't even be tested for. But the headlines do give us an opportunity to look at the legal cannabis industry and whether it's time to buy or bail. Hi, I'm Matthew Carr, Chief Trend Strategist at the Oxford Club. Thank you for watching this episode of Market Trends. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on my best trading ideas, which I share here each and every week. So for several years, I've been covering the cannabis industry. I've interviewed gobs of CEOs, activists, and medical professionals in the field, and have worked on educational projects with some of the cannabis's biggest names. And to kick off 2021, I projected that 6 states, Connecticut, Maryland, New Mexico, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Virginia, would legalize adult use. Halfway through the year, 4 of those have done so. Today, adult use has largely been legalized on the West Coast, and the Northeast part of the country is beginning to fill in as well. The South is really the last holdout on legalization at this point. So I think, again, U.S. legalization is imminent and on the horizon. We also have the Safe Banking Act and the MORE Act, which were reintroduced into Congress this year. The Safe Banking Act has already cleared the House. So there's all of these positive catalysts, but it hasn't been high times for cannabis companies in recent months. In fact, it's been a real mess. Some might say a poo-poo show. Since topping out in the early part of February, the North American Marijuana Index has just been completely smoked. And I don't mean smoked in a good way like brisket or barbecue, but in a bad way like the fires of Hades or some sort of pollution disaster. The index has fallen 61.7% since February. That's more than half. It's now at its lowest level since November 2020, and it just feels like a poo sandwich for a lot of investors. Oh, come on! But we're starting to see some signs of life. We've seen ancillary cannabis opportunities gain traction and outpace the S&P 500 over the past month. When we look at shares of cannabis real estate investment trust, Innovative Industrial Properties, they've gained 11.5% over the past month and are back above $200. That's the first time shares have moved above $200 since February. Meanwhile, shares of the largest hydroponics retailer in the country, Grow Generation, have surged more than 22%. They're at their highest level since April. Its competitor, Hydrofarm, has seen shares risen almost 3% during that stretch. That's not a face ripper, but it is ahead of the S&P 500. Then we have, vaporizer parts company Green Lane has had this wild, volatile month, but shares are up nearly 11% at this point, and they've touched their highest level since mid-April. We've also seen shares of Green Thumb Industries, one of the largest multi-state operators, or MSOs, roll 15.3% higher since June 18th. They're now topping $33 for the first time since May. So momentum is starting to shift. And typically, what we've seen is those ancillary plays are the first movers. Those are seen as the safest ways to gain exposure to cannabis. And so that's where investors wants to become interested in the sector again, that's where they start plowing into. Those are also for Robinhooders. Those are the only ones that are trade on major exchanges like the NASDAQ and the NYSE. That momentum that we see then leaks over into MSOs like Green Thumb, Curaleaf, Cresco, TrueLeaf, etc. So here's the deal though. Over the next month, I expect this momentum to gain steam. That's because we're entering cannabis earnings season. It begins next week with Organigram on the 13th, then GTEC on the 14th. But everything really begins to kick off in August with Curaleaf on the 9th, Verano on the 10th, Green Thumb on the 11th, Columbia Care on the 12th, and so on. It's just going to build with one report after the next. That's why I believe now is the perfect time to take another look at this industry, because we're starting to see the shift in momentum. Investors need to be prepared to take advantage of that, either with ancillary plays like GrowGeneration, which ticker symbol GRWG, or Innovative Industrial Properties, IIPR, or target the broader sector with an ETF like Advisor Shares US Pure Cannabis ETF, ticker symbol MSOS. Shares of this ETF are just coming off one of their lowest levels of 2021, and you get exposure to both MSOs, all those plant-touching companies, as well as ancillary plays to boot. Well, I'm Anthony Carr, Chief Trend Strategist for the Auction Club. Thanks for watching this episode of Market Trends. For more information like this, be sure to go down to the description and sign up for my free e-letter. Until next time, here's to high returns.